Hey guys, it's Mike, and I love this book. It's great. I read Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury, Seven in the Sand, Part 2. So, Seven in the Sand begins right where the Hearth and Salamander left off, with Guy and Mildred reading books. This is sort of a pickup from the cliffhanger, ending in Part 1. It's really so odd to see these characters of this story just sitting and thinking, as up until this point, there had almost always been something that the characters had been doing. So Guy tries to bring up the death of Clarice, but Mildred just isn't having it, doesn't care, and doesn't want to talk about dead people. She wants to discuss living people, namely herself. This moment's really terrifying, as you see these adults acting like children, because to Mildred, she almost doesn't understand what death is. To her, Clarice might as well have just taken a vacation. People always say to live in the moment, but that's exactly what these people do, and it doesn't seem too appealing to me. One thing I've noticed a lot of in this part of Fahrenheit is that Montag has these fits of rage where he just kind of explodes and lets loose all that he's been thinking, and I love it. I'd say the most powerful of these, page 98, where Montag lets loose on Mrs. Bowles and tells her to go home. So, a little quote is, go home. Think of your first husband divorced, your second husband killed in a jet, and your third husband blowing his brains out. So there's more to it. There's a lot more to it. But it's almost cathartic to see Guy tell Mrs. Bowles what's for. It really felt like Guy was picking her apart, limb from limb, and just like shredding her. But she remains unfazed, because in her world, she's the norm. And which is another scary thing, because to see someone who's only, give or take, 30 years old, have all of these things that Guy said about her be true. I mean, in our world, she'd be considered rock bottom, but she's normal here. And I'd also to bring up how much I love the way Bradbury writes dialogue, because it's so good. In the aforementioned quote, Guy repeats the phrase "go home," and it really hammers in the message in it. And Bradbury's done this so many times throughout the novel, and it really is spectacular. The way it feels so heavy, so intense. It's incredible. The way that the characters are written is just in general so fantastic. Especially Guy, Faber, Beatty. Yeah, those are the three main ones. But so Guy's your typical dystopian protagonist. It's plain to see in the way that he actively challenges the dystopia and its control method, despite being part of that control method himself, which is the fireman. He really does feel like, he really does feel like your generic alienated protagonist, but he has this weird character arc to him. As normally the trope is a character's slow descent into madness, but with Guy, it's his ascent into sanity, which I think it's really interesting. It's a really amazing thing to watch play out like that. But yeah, it's so great. But so next you've got old man Faber. So I see him as almost a vessel for the reader, because he's helping Guy out. He's the voice in Guy's ear, telling him what's right and from wrong, what's good, what to do. And there is parallels between him and Beatty and what they're telling Guy to do, and how for a minute it's almost like, wow, old man Faber is the same as Beatty, just telling Guy what to do blindly. But that's not what I'm getting to right now. He's there and he's helping Guy out, and that's what the reader wants to do. You just want to be that voice in Guy's ear and tell him no, you got to do this, do this, Guy. But he's almost non-existent, because he's just very removed, very just far away. And then you've got Beatty, he's this leader of the firemen, full of wit, and he's one side. He's trying to convince Guy what to do. And then Faber on this side they're a more literal representation of Guy's inner struggle. So, and I think it's really cool to watch that play out. Side note, imagine what it's like for Guy to have this random old dude, well, he's not exactly random, just tell you, hey, I'm going to put this put this earpiece in your ear, and then I'm gonna help you destroy everything you've ever known. It's just like, take a minute to think about that. That's it's but uh Fahrenheit 451 is kind of an oddball in how its ideas have actually happened or not, because they haven't exactly happened or not happened yet. It's a weird gray area. Um, so it's in this weird gray area where it feels eerily real, but the more important parts of the dystopia haven't come to fruition yet. Of course, there isn't like a large scale epidemic of book burning in the real world yet, but there are smaller things like life moving faster and less people reading, and technology being so heavily integrated into our lives that we just don't even realize it. Heck, I'm like writing and recording all this on a laptop right now. I mean, talk about 21st century. But so I think that in Bradbury's time, this really was a fear, because with the advent of new technologies, and when it was, I have to imagine it would be so scary because they wouldn't know what any of this stuff was. But I just looked at my own shadow. It's oh man, that had to be a really scary thing for them. The Sieve in the Sand ends. Well, actually, first I want to get something else. Another thing I love about the Sieve in the Sand is all of the small allusions to future plot points that we haven't exactly gotten to yet. Like, they keep talking about the Hound. I'm just waiting for it, and I think it's coming soon. But the war is, I guess I should say, is another thing. Oh man, because all the planes and Guy, he freaks out about it at the beginning, and it's just, I don't know. I hope we get some context and some resolution for that. Um, so the Civ in the Sand ends with Montag rejoining the firemen to help Faber take them down, and then the alarm goes off. So of course, when I first heard this, I was like, "Huh, I wonder if it's his house." But I just kind of pushed that idea to the side. And I'm like, no, I don't think that's going to be it. And of course, Guy's having his inner moral struggle about whether or not he can bear, whether or not he can manage to burn just another book just to help Faber. But then Beatty drives the car, which is unusual. So then Montag realizes this is my house, and it ends. And Bradbury's really great at having those abrupt endings that leave you satisfied and well informed, but also with questions and still hungry for more. And it's really great. Bradbury's great. If you can't tell that, I think that I love him. Um, Overall, I thought that this part was great. The world, the characters, the plot, they all mesh together perfectly. So if I had to rate it, I'd say it's pretty rad. Peace. There, I got it.